Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Jill Rupp. What's up, Jill?
Hey, Bill.
How are
Hi,
you?
everybody. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on my show. Before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. So Jill has a crazy story, and we're going to get into it today. So you want to explain to the people where you were born and raised?
Sure. Thanks for having me on today, Bill. I do appreciate it, truly. And like Bill said, all the people he has on here, crazy stories. You definitely want to tune in, like, subscribe, follow him. He's amazing. Especially getting people like me on. One of my other good friends was on. But I was born and raised in a small town in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Most people don't know and never heard of it. Coal mining town, northeast corner of Pennsylvania. Whole bunch of nothing going on. But I was raised. My parents were pretty poor, really poor, honestly. And I was that girl that did what my parents said. And trust me, I was far from perfect, but it was go to school, work a job, and get a degree. So my whole life, I did a paper route. I worked, I went to school, got a lot of college loans and debt. I got a 4-year degree, graduated by the time I was 21, and became a nurse. Um, but like crazy stuff had happened before during that time. My parents, like I
That's an
said, were poor.
accomplishment. Being a nurse, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. But so I went to school in '03. We found out my dad was sick August 10th of '04. He died August 17th of '04. And I helped raise my little sister and my mom, who didn't drive, sort of like checked out and stuff like that. So I became like the male figure in the house. I know that sounds odd. When my dad passed away, like my sister was 9, mom wasn't in a good spot. And so I had to go to school, take care of my sis.
What year
And
were you born?
85. So, I did graduate on time. I literally went back to college like 2 weeks later, and yeah, I kept going. It was just one of those ones where our house had been repossessed earlier that year. They were living in a hotel when my dad got ill, and a lot of just my whole life is just crazy. Like me and my sister joke, bad jokes, but like, it's always something, unexplainable or extraordinary, like
Like
not really.
everything changes, right? Once your dad passed away, everything
Yeah.
changes, right?
Oh yeah, because I went from being a normal 19-year-old, well, normal-ish. I don't know what a normal 19-year-old is, but like I was in school, going to school, working part-time at McDonald's, and now all of a sudden I don't dorm now. I decided to move back home to help my mom. I'm watching my sister 5 days a week, so that way my mom can still work and provide for my sister. And I, yeah, had to figure out life. I had to figure out just how to do things and just, I don't know, be a normal teenager ish. But it was just things that changed you, because I went from like 19, like I said, no responsibilities, to my mom didn't drive. She was 44. So I chauffeured her and my sister around.
So you have to do everything, like
Yeah.
be the
And like
mother
nobody told
figure
me to
kind
do it.
of.
And I made a vow when he died. I was like, I'm going to do this because I want to. Like, it's the right thing. Because I don't want anybody to ever say things like, like, oh, she did it because of her sister, or I did it because of you, or something like that. No, I did it because I wanted to. So I didn't want anything to ever come back, or it to be ever held over anybody's head that, oh my gosh, I don't want to say ruined my life, but I stayed in Pennsylvania because I wanted to leave. Like my goal was to graduate in '07 and take off and leave Pennsylvania.
Did
Needless
you
to
think
say,
that? Did you think the big world was going to be like? It was going to be so different out there. I mean, it
well,
is different in different places, but
well, the whole thing was Pennsylvania didn't have like any culture or anything like that. Like all people did was drink, do drugs, and like hang out at home. And like they worked their job, that was great, but like we were sort of all really poor, so we didn't really travel a lot. We didn't do anything. And I'm like, I want to go somewhere there's culture. I didn't care where the where the hell I went, pardon my French, but like I just didn't care. I just wanted something different. And people are like, aren't you scared of leaving? I said, why? I said, they ain't ever shutting the gates. If I want to come back, like I can come back. Like they're not gonna tell me, nope, you left, you got to stay away.
yeah.
And so I ended up finally leaving in, oh shoot, 2010, 20, no, sorry,
Where,
2012.
where were you going? What was your plan?
So my sister was about to turn 18 in She turned 18 2011, and she was graduating that June. And I actually met this really amazing guy named Kyle, or I thought was amazing. That leads into my other story. I had met him in college, actually, and he was in the military and stuff like that. And he popped back into
What
my
state
life.
was this in?
This
Pennsylvania?
was November of
What state?
2012. Oh, state, Pennsylvania. I was
This
still
was
in
in
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania when you met him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I met him. We went to school together, everything like that. And he came back into my life. Like I said, we graduated college in 07. He came back into my life in 2012. And he was like my best friend in college. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, he was stationed in Virginia, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, we dated for like 6 months. Like I said, my sister was getting ready to graduate. And yeah, I decided when she graduated, me and him were doing really well, to move to Virginia with him. And he was all about it. And I was like,
And your sister was going to come with you guys?
no, she was finally 18. I was finally like, I did my job. I did my part. I don't want to say bios cadias, but like, I got her out of school and she was going to college. And yeah,
You're like, you're on your own, and I'm going to
Yeah,
go
like-
live my life and be with this guy, right?
I was like, I can start to live my life. Like, because I made a commitment to myself. Like, I would stick around until she graduated high school at least. Like, because my dad was like the strong hand in my life. Like, you're not going to mess up. You're going to do this and that. And when he died, like, there wasn't that there. And I was like, oh man, if I don't stick around. And I'm not saying I was perfect, but I did the best I could at like 19, 20, 21 years old. Like, it was like adopting a 9-year-old when I was 19. It was just crazy. I look back now and I'm like, I took on a lot of responsibility, but I did all right. I did okay.
I mean, sometimes people don't have a choice, you know. They get thrown into a situation where they have to, like, mature faster than normal, you know.
And nobody told me I had to, but like, to me, that was the only option. Like, I could have went back to Dorman and told them to go fuck
Just
them.
left, yeah, like, you could have
And, like,
just left. And
at one point, people are like, why did you stick around? Like, because it wasn't easy. And I was like, because you just, I don't know. I'm that person, you just don't back out when shit gets tough. Like, you figure it out.
yeah.
And like, I made certain commitments to myself, not to anybody else. Like I said, nobody asked me. My mom said, like, you can go back to school and dorm and stuff, Jill. I'm like, ooh, if I do that, like, I just don't see any of this going well. I'm like, I don't see any of this going well at all.
So how was it with the relationship with this guy? Was there any, when you first started dating him, everything was great, right?
Oh, it was like Prince Charming. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, and I hate to even say like those kind of terms, but it seemed great because he had been my best friend, like I said, through nursing school. So he was a nurse too. We had gone to concerts, hung out through nursing school, like, and I'd known him. Like, he knew like some of my exes, I knew some of his exes, and it was always non-platonic, nothing. Like, we were just friends.
Yeah.
So when he came back and like he started to talk to me, we actually started to talk like to date. And I was like, wow, like, I'm finally, you know, they say you're going to marry your best friend. And I was like, wow, like, stuff like this actually happens. Like, this is cool. All right. Okay, great. Like I said, it was like 6 months only we were together, and I decided to move to Virginia with him. But they didn't think it was a red flag because I knew him already. I knew him from the past. I'd known him 4 years. I'm like, this is cool. He was a little overbearing at sometimes, but I thought it was just cute. It was a little, yeah, a little overprotective. But I'm like, oh, okay, no big deal.
Like jealous.
Yes, like, and like the thing was, like, I've always been outgoing, and it's weird if you ever meet me. Like, if I'm flirty, I'm awkward. But if I'm not flirting with you, I'm very outgoing, and people think I'm flirting. And like, it's just,
Yeah.
And he would be like, oh, well, people like, yeah, everybody's always like me. Like, okay, whatever. But I'm a very loyal person. Like, when I'm with you, like, I'm just with you. Like, I love with all my heart. And nowadays it's sometimes just, it's not what it should be. It's not what it's cracked up to be. So I end up moving to Virginia. I don't really talk to my sister or my mom a ton. When we go back, we stay with his family primarily to visit because they had just a bigger house and stuff like that. So I am seeing my sister and my family and stuff like that, but not a ton, but I don't think nothing too much of it because, like I said, I was sort of really ready to leave that area anyway. Fast forward to November. So we were together a whole year. He proposes to me and I'm like, oh, this is cute. Like,
There was no red flags at all. Like, he didn't put his hands on you. He didn't.
No, thank goodness. Like, nah. The one red flag was that, and I'm going to tell any girls or guys that ever have this happen, and this is one thing I didn't believe. His one ex that he had just recently dated had came back to me and said he's crazy, yada yada. and she said he had pulled a gun on her at one point in time. And I'm like, Kyle, get out of here. I didn't believe it because now remember, I was his friend. So this is where like my blinders came up. And she's like, wait, Prince Charming's going to ride off on that white horse and you're going to be left with your nightmare. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, this girl is crazy. Now he had warned me already. She was crazy. And I was like, wow, she really is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And he had taken me on a vacation. We went to St. Lucia probably like May of that year before I even moved in.
What was he doing for work?
He was nursing.
Doing the same thing you were doing. You guys were both working at the time?
Yeah, and he was in the military, so he was Army. So he had vacation time and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. He said, let's go away for a few days. I'd never been out of the country. Thought it was the best thing in the world. I was like, oh my God, this is truly like fairy tale shit. Yeah. Well, while I'm in another country, and this was before like really international calling, because we're going back to 2012, like didn't talk to my family. My family knew I was going away for 5 days, whatever. I get on the plane, land back in the States, and my phone is blown up. Like I turn it on and I'm like, everybody knew I was out of the States. I'm like, what? Apparently that crazy girl was messaging them saying like he had like bad intentions for me, this and that. And I probably wasn't going to make it back from St. Lucia, just like crazy stuff. Like crazy.
She was messaging your family while
like
you're gone on vacation.
Yeah, like my mom and sister. And like they had no way to contact me because I didn't have international service. And like that wasn't even.
So they're like terrified. They're thinking this dude's gonna kill you or something.
They were, right? And like they knew him, so it was crazy because it didn't make sense to them either. They're like, "We know Kyle." I'm like, what? So when I land, my phone is blown up, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I have no idea. I'm like, but I made it back. Vacation was beautiful, amazing, great. But this girl was just constantly in my DMs, just saying shit, and I'm like, man, she is like absolutely crazy. She really wasn't crazy. And I'm telling you, if a guy says their exes are crazy, and especially if it's a lot of their exes, I've really now come to realize, especially since I've talked to a lot of other people or I've read some blogs that have people that have been in bad relationships, they're usually, I always want to know, why were they crazy or what did you do to make them crazy? Because by the end of the relationship, like everything she had said and pretty much warned me about what was true. Was absolutely true. And like, I never in my wildest dreams.
Like what type of stuff? Would you catch him cheating on you?
Oh, yeah. Well, so she had said he's going to cheat. And I was like, Kyle, my best friend? No. Now I'd known him in college and he had girlfriends. He never cheated on his girlfriends that I knew about. Nothing like that.
Yeah. So you're like, he seems like a loyal guy, right?
Yeah. Like I had known him for years before this. So like this stuff to me just seemed like so far-fetched. Like it sounded like she was just making stuff up. And she wasn't. So I don't know if he was always like that. And he never let me see that side of him, even while we were in college, or if something changed at some point. But like this man was my Prince Charming. Like I said, we got engaged. We ended up leaving Virginia because he got new orders and moving to San Antonio, where I'm from now. And that was in January of 2014. So I've been here since then. And it was just, he really at that point, then it was sort of financial control because I had to transfer my job and stuff like that. So I didn't always have as much stable jobs as he did because he was Navy or not Navy, Army.
But you guys moved together because of his military stuff, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And like, I wasn't married to him at that point. And he tried to say like, hey, let's get married, better benefits and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm a girl that believes in love. And I told him, I said, why do we need to be married? I said, that's crazy. I said, we don't need to be married. I said, I never would marry for benefits, money, or anything like that. I said, let's just move down there and like plan our wedding out, come back up here and get married. I said, there's no reason to do the JP shit. I said, it's okay. But so in 2014, before we got married in 2015.
Were you guys planning on having kids and all that stuff too?
That was really not talked about. I never really wanted kids because I said I'd have to really find somebody that I wanted kids because I helped raise my sister. And I'll tell you, like, not that she was a bad thing, but like I put my life on hold for a good 10 years because of her. So like right now, like my thing was I wanted to go and live life. Like if that conversation came up later, sure, great. But not, I was like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what I was doing. Oh, I went through his phone or something like that. I picked up his phone and I found Tinder on his phone. And this was before Tinder was like what it is now. And it's just a lonely guy with his 2 dogs in San Antonio. A
So
single
what?
guy.
So you picked up his phone, you found his Tinder profile, right? And it says, "Hey, he's a lonely guy with 2 dogs."
Yeah, in San Antonio. And he said, now he had told me, he's like, I was on a dating app before. And I did know this. And I said, yeah, you lived in Virginia. I said, we have been engaged the whole time we've been in San Antonio. I said,
Oh, so you got him. You caught him. He's caught.
I was like, what the fuck? And no, 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 no. Okay. All right. So he was like, no, that's not it. This and that. And I'm like, dude, what do you mean? But stupid me, he's like, delete it, this and that. And at one point, he was actually tracking my phone. And when I mean tracking my phone, he had my phone, like every keystroke, every password. He could turn on the camera, record me, record my voice. He had my phone like completely hacked. And
Wow.
one of his friends came over, and it was a girl, a nurse he had worked with. And me and her were talking. We were getting ready to pack to go back to Pennsylvania to visit. And me and her were talking. I said, if things don't change and he doesn't really stop acting weird like he's acting, and it was just his behavior at some points. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, I don't really know if I'm going to go through with this. I said, I'm not sure. And
With the marriage, so was you mean
yeah,
the
like
marriage? So
yeah,
you caught him before you got married?
yeah, and like
Oh God.
supposedly things had changed. Oh yeah, like I was a silly girl, and like when I say he had me so isolated and wrapped around his finger, and like I was an independent woman, like, and I was always that woman that told people, why don't you just leave? Why would you put up with stuff like that? So now I'm becoming somebody I don't even know. My sister didn't like him, so she stopped talking to me. My mom's up in PA, whatever. Well, he had overheard me and her conversation because he recorded our phone call, and he actually had listened to it like the next morning because he worked night shift. And he was like, why were you telling her that? I was like, well, it's not like it's nothing I told you. I said, I didn't say nothing bad to her. I said, and what do you mean you've heard it? I said, what? And that's when I found out my phone was hacked.
Oh,
Like
so because he was listening to everything you were saying.
everything, like literally full recordings. It wasn't like, and I didn't even know you could put apps like that on your phone, and they're ghost like apps. Like once you put them on, they disappear. And I'm like, when did you put that on? And like, I don't have passwords on my phone for like to keep you out. I have them on there because I have banking stuff on my phone. Like
Yeah,
I'm that
yeah.
type of person.
Like
I'm
if you
trusting.
drop your phone, you don't want someone to pick it up and start banking, use your
Yeah.
banking information, of course.
Yes, exactly. And like that definitely started a whole big thing. And his whole family was like, because he actually, when he heard that, he took my wedding ring off my finger. He went like AWOL, my engagement ring. And he spent 3 days in hospital over this. And me and him
What,
had,
like in a psych ward type thing?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he was sending pictures to people with my ring. He had a gun. Oh, yeah. It was definitely some crazy stuff. So I had to meet with his command. They separated us for 7 days because they didn't want me to become a statistic. And I was like, okay, makes sense. I didn't want to be a statistic anyway.
Did the cops get involved?
No, it was his command. So close enough when you're
So
military.
the military like stepped in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did they know that you guys were having problems? Did they was
Well,
there like
they didn't. I didn't even know we were having problems until really this all like escalated. And I was like, huh? And that's when like people say like, if you're a loyal person and people are accusing you of cheating, I hate to say it, it's projection. Like it really is projection. It's usually what they're doing. And like me, he just used to make it feel like, well, look how you dress or look how you act. And he made it just seem like it was always on me. So it took the blame off of him. And
there's a lot of people who do that. They project the same thing what they are or what they do and they say that to other people.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people who do that. I know a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of them. It's
And
crazy.
like I said, blindsided, dumb. So dumb. And I wish I could say I was young. I was in my mid-20s. Like I wasn't young. Like, but I loved the idea of being in love. Like I was gonna get married. This was gonna be great.
You're like, he's gonna change, right? Things are gonna
Well,
be
he did
different.
his 3 days in the psych ward. And I talked to him. I said, I can't do this. Like, this is not a me thing. Like, this isn't what love is. Like, if you can't trust me and like you're listening to my shit, like, I said, I'll give you my phone. Like, what do you want? Like, you can have it. I don't care. And the thing was, like, I want your passwords though. I said, you can have all my passwords. You can have everything. And he's like, oh, well, if we're gonna have trust and this and that, of course, I never got the passwords. And he uninstalled the app on the phone. I made him do it while he was in there, actually, honestly, because I was like, oh, we're not playing this game. And it was 7 days. He had to be evaled. He was mandated for like therapy, for everything. So I really thought things were going to change because the military didn't take that shit lightly. Like, they're like, you're not going to be a statistic. She's not going to be a statistic. Like, this isn't.
Does the military, do they was it on base when you guys were having these problems?
We lived off base because he was an officer, but they made him stay on base for a whole week after he even got out to make sure
Oh,
he
so,
was.
so I bet you like when he was getting placed in there for the mental stuff,
Mhm.
he they probably, that's where they got involved with the whole relationship thing because
Oh, they had to.
he
Yeah.
told them things about you guys and all this
Well,
stuff.
no, they picked him up at the house because one of his friends called them and told them.
Was
So
he making threats or anything? Like, what's the reason they took him there? And
because he had a gun and there was a picture of my ring next to his gun and like his like lock, like a gun lock box. I don't know anything about guns. I don't touch guns. I've never played with guns, like have no interest in them. I've never even shot a paintball gun. That's how like naive I am. But I no interest in them. And people are like, you live in Texas? Yeah, I live in Texas. But
big gun state and all that.
yeah, but so they actually took we had 2 guns in the house. They took both guns. He didn't have the guns for years, nothing like that. They wouldn't let him have anything. So I really thought things were going to change. Things were going to get
So
better.
they took the guns, but they didn't give them back.
Not till after he was off like eval and stuff like that. It was almost like over a year because they actually locked them up in like a safe area on base. Like you have to go pick them up, make sure you're cleared type of thing. So it was about a year when he went and finally picked them up because I don't like guns. So I was quite okay with not having
Yeah.
guns in the house, especially after that. Yeah.
So what happened after that? After he picks up the guns, are you guys still having problems? Did you go?
Yeah. Well, we got married. We ended up getting married like a year later. We got married in September of 2015.
Yeah.
And that had been, so that all went down in like probably October of 2014. So I was, of course, I won't rush nothing because, like I said, like I wasn't going to stick around, nothing like that. Now, at this point, he was smart. My mom had some health issues. He had moved my mother to Texas because he loved her so much and he wanted to help me take care of her. So now my sister doesn't talk to me and my mother lives with me and him. So I don't have a big family. A lot of my family has passed. And now I have nowhere to go if something goes on because
He's got your family there. Oh, that's what he did. He took your mom and brung her there to move in with him and you so
we
that
can take
you
care of her.
can't leave. So you can't, like, if you want to leave him to go run to your mom's house, you can't
Yep.
because she's there with you.
Yep.
So that was his plan, right?
Yeah. And people are like, he's moving your mom down. I was like, oh, yeah, it's so sweet. He loves her.
Oh, so he had you fooled.
Oh, yeah. Because he was like, because her health was deteriorating. She was in her 50s only, but she just had health issues and stuff after my dad died. And I'm like, oh, okay. Instead of me having to go home to Pennsylvania all the time, to take care of her, let's bring her to Texas. And I was like, you want my mother to live with us? Love my mother. God rest her soul. She's passed. But like, she was a handful. Like she definitely was, she was something else. But he's like, oh yeah, move her in. I'm like, you're positive? Oh yeah. So he moved my mother in. We ended up getting married in September of 2015. And things just, I didn't think they were bad, but he would just go through like mood swings. He wasn't always himself. It just wasn't, I don't even know how to say it wasn't. I watched like that perfect guy, like I told you that I fell in love with like right away. Like Prince Charming. Like she said, Prince Charming, the mask was going to fall off and he was going to ride away. She wasn't wrong. And
once you got married, did you see like things change right away?
We came back from our honeymoon and like we were supposed to both do traveling nursing after he got out. And he was supposed to be getting out in 2016. I was really excited. I was like, okay, we have 1 year, we're going to start traveling. It's going to be great. We
Yeah.
get back and he's like, I've been looking at some houses. I think we're going to buy a house. And I said, and I mean days, like 3 days after our honeymoon. He's like, we're going to buy a house. I said, we're going to buy a house. I said, what's wrong with our apartment? I said, our lease isn't even up until January. I said, it's October. What do you mean? He's like, oh, I'll get us out of the lease. I'm like, he's like, well, I've been looking at some places. And he's like, we can look at it. And he made it sound great. He's like, we'll pick out some places and look at them. Well, apparently he had been looking at places. The first place we went to, we put money down and bought it. Like 4 days later, we ended up moving into that house.
So all this happens fast.
Right? Oh, yeah. Like November, I got married September 11th. We moved into the house by December 1st. And he's like, why don't you seem excited like when we put money down on it? I said, that was the first house we looked at. One.
It's all your idea.
Yeah. I was like, two. I'm like, I was like, we've been looking at houses for an hour. And now we're like buying it, home owning it. Like we put money down. I said, this is a lot. I'm like, we just got married like a week and a half ago. We're buying a house. He's like, aren't you excited? I'm like, I guess. He's like, don't you love San Antonio? I said, well, it's nice. I said, there's a lot going on here. I said, I do love it here. Like, but I was like, I said, next year we were supposed to travel. I'm like, well, what? He's like, you just don't seem grateful. And I'm like, no. I said, I'm grateful. I said, I'm grateful. I said, I'm blessed we can buy a house. I was like, but everything we were supposed to do isn't like what?
Yeah, like you need to back up and like let's slow this down a little bit. And
like my mind was blown. And of course, then I was ungrateful. I was this and I was that. And I was like, no, I'm grateful because I mean, we were getting like a brand new home. And it was like a nice build and things like that. And it was nice. I mean, but like it wasn't anything we talked about. It was like completely different than what I thought my life was going to be. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay. And like,
was there any signs of him cheating on you more? Like, did you find
like, and the worst part is like this man like spent every waking moment with me from the moment we got up, we went to bed together. Sometimes we worked different shifts because I worked sometimes nights, sometimes he worked days, but that wasn't a lot. We slept in the same bed, saw each other all the time. Like he was never deployed, nothing. He was just just controlling, just very different. And my sister
was he depressed? Was he depressed or
would have been possibly depression, but he didn't seem like that. It was true. Like, if you look up what a narcissist is, it was true narcissistic behavior. And when you look up what that really is, it's crazy because it's not what people think about it. It's not egocentrical like you would think, but it's literally like people that like almost mimic other people and they're attracted to strong-willed people and they like the attention that they get and things like that. But when they get them, they almost like use them for whatever they need them for. And then once they're used up, they discard them.
And they believe their own bullshit. And all
oh, yeah.
I know a lot of them. There's a lot of them there on YouTube. A lot of them.
Oh, yeah. And like, it was crazy. So it was September of 2018. We're not going to do September of 2018. We're going to do June of 2018. Life just wasn't the way I wanted it to be. Like he was very controlling. My mom had actually passed away in December of 2017.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so it was the day after Christmas. And
How was he when that happened? When your mom passed away, was he like there for you?
No. His family had been in visiting for Christmas and she had gotten sick in December and early December. And she just went downhill. She got pneumonia and she ended up passing away on the 26th. His family was in and he was literally like, well, we have stuff planned with mom and my niece tonight. So, let's go sign this paperwork and we'll get on with it and we'll figure out the funeral tomorrow. And I was like, and my one friend finally, after everything went on and I told him about, they're like, he treated her like discarded milk. It was like, let's go sign paperwork and go. Yep. And now this woman had lived in the same house with us since 2014. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like he was cold about it.
Oh yeah, like right? It was just okay, babe, we got this. Come on, let's go. And I was just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
My sister ended up coming in to, help me with the house and stuff like that because she knew she was ill, but we were she got sick and died pretty quick. So we didn't think she was going to die. Honestly, we thought she was going to recover from the pneumonia and, just be our pain in the ass mother. God love her. God rest her soul.
I mean, no one ever thinks that someone's going to die,
No, and like she had lung issues before. So when she got pneumonia, she was doing better, and then all of a sudden she went downhill again, and she didn't recover. So when she passed, it was rough. And my sister's like, he's an ass. And he really was. Like, he was just cold. And she was married, and her husband was great, there for her, like amazing. Her husband was a good guy.
Your
And
sister's husband.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
His sister's husband. And like, I saw like how he treated her versus what I was getting. And I'm like, boy, this is like the short end of the stick. Like, this is definitely like the short end of the stick. But so she passed. Now I have nothing there. I don't have like any family left. My dad died, like I said, in 04. My mom's now passed. I have one uncle left in New Jersey, but okay. So
how's he treating you at this point?
It was June of 2018, and like it was just cold. It just like, because he was just used to be doting and loving and all that stuff, like it just faded little by little. But he would always give it back just a little bit more. Like if I got fed up, like it would come back just long enough to keep me there, to think it was going to stay, and it would leave. Every time it came back, though, it got shorter and shorter and shorter. And we had a beautiful house. And like I was sitting on my patio a lot after stuff had gone on, and I was like, man, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. I said, I need an answer. I said, if this is life, I don't want it. I'm not saying I was suicidal, but like, I would never try to take myself out. I had issues with depression when I was younger and stuff like that. And I always said I'd never take myself out. But man, if this is life, I'm done. I'm good. I don't want it anymore. I'm like, I always promised I wouldn't get divorced. But
and now you guys don't have kids.
No. But all my money is tied up in this house. All of my money. Like,
and your mom passed away, your father's gone. So you're kind of like, and your sister's with her husband. So you don't want to be the third wheel there.
Yeah. Oh, and she knew my husband was crazy, and I couldn't see it. And she pretty much said, you can't bring that bullshit here. So I was pretty much on my own to figure stuff out. But like, I was praying to the universe, and I said, the one night I went to bed and I prayed, and I was like, I need a sign. I said I'd never do divorce, but if a marriage is going to work, it's got to be a two-way street. Like, both people have to put the work in.
Yeah.
So the next day I went to the gym, where I was working from home, selling health insurance and stuff like that at that point in time. And something told me to go into his military book bag. Now, this military book bag is sat in the same spot for, I don't know, 5 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, same spot, same thing. And I'm like getting changed after the gym, and I look at the book bag, and something said go in the pocket. And I'm like, why would I go in his fucking book bag? But I'm like, okay. Go in his pocket. I found a whole second phone. And I'm like, yeah.
Another phone?
Oh, another phone. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, it was like the coldest day in my whole life, I swear. Because like, I'm looking at this mirror. We have a big mirror like that. I'm like getting changed in. And like, I watched like a fog lift, and I don't know if it was like my aha moment in life or whatnot. I'm holding this phone, and I look in the mirror, and I don't even know who the fuck I am. Like, as you can see now, I don't wear a ton of makeup to begin with, but I wasn't really doing anything with my hair. Like, I surely didn't have lashes. I didn't wear makeup. Like, I didn't wear tight clothing. My nails weren't done. Like, I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, and how the fuck did you get here? I'm like, how did I get here? I'm like, how did I get here? And I'm holding this phone, and this thing actually turns on, shockingly. It's an older phone, turns on. And it lets me go through it, and I found Skype. I found another app called Keek, which is, I guess, a chatting app. I don't even know. And then I found like Google Hangouts, and they let me in. No passwords. I was like shit shocked, because this man's whole life is password locked. Like, his phone didn't even open like without like, I swear, eye recognition type of shit. And like, I'm like, there's no way. So I see these numbers, and I screenshot like some messages, right?
Oh, so you're reading the messages. He's got messages to people.
Well, there's some stuff, but I don't get a lot. And I don't screenshot them. I take pictures on my phone. But now I know at some point he had my phone hacked. So I'm like, oh my God, if he sees that I'm taking pictures of stuff like this, I'm fucked. I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, if he's doing shady shit, he's probably still probably watching my stuff more than I know. So I take these pictures, I print them off, and I actually give them to my one neighbor. And she said, what? I said, here's some pictures. Just hold them for me. And she's like, anyway. So I gather all of my information for like 2 weeks, because I work from home. And he had left his laptop at home, and it was unlocked. Crazy. And I see anybody that is doing anything bad, clear your Google Maps on a regular basis, because I tracked him for up to like the past like 7 years. All of the stuff he was doing via Google Maps. Anyway, I didn't know
everywhere he went, right?
Yeah.
All the places.
And like, search it. your phone pings you, which I had no idea because I was like livid pissed at this point. Livid pissed because I'm like, I gave him the chance, like you said, in 2014. And now find this. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So 2 weeks go by. I get all my information and I'm like, okay, I have to go to him because at this point I'm just done. I don't want nothing to do with him. Like I said, he broke me down. Like I asked my one friend if I can actually start working at her office so that way I can get something like more on paper because commission jobs aren't always looked at the same when you're going to apply for apartments and stuff like that. She said, yeah, of course I'll give you a job. I said, okay. Nobody knows. Like, I don't even want to think this kind of stuff because I swear I felt like he could like read my thoughts. Like if I was acting funny, I'm like,
Yeah.
Don't even think it. Don't even think it. And then one day he said something and I said, that's it. I said, sit down. And he's like, what? And we never could talk about anything because I was always ruining the moment or ruining this or ruining that.
Or something was going to happen, right? Like a big event, and you didn't want to ruin things.
Yeah.
His family's birthday or something. His mom's
like,
birthday.
If we talked on a Friday, we couldn't talk because we were ruining the weekend. And then we couldn't talk on Sunday because we were going to ruin the week. And we couldn't talk on Saturday because that would ruin Sunday.
You're just like, fuck this, I'm done.
And I said, fuck
down, bro.
And like, yeah. And he was like, how did you keep all this stuff good for 2 weeks? I said, I've held a lot together for 5 years, 6 years now at this point. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, I don't even want your last name. I said, I just want you to let me leave. I said, just let me leave. I said, I just want to go. Where are you going to go? Because he knew I had no money. I said, I'm going to go to Haven for Hope. And it was a shelter, a true like shelter. I said, you can have the car. The car's in your name. Keep my phone. I know you have it tracked. I said, I want nothing but you to leave me the fuck alone. He's like, no, I'll give you the house. And I said, no, because then I'd have to deal with you. I said, I don't want this. And now
Is he being angry? Is he being angry with you? Or?
He was at this point, like angry, but he never once touched me. Never. Thank God. Probably not, because if he would have touched me, I may have left sooner, but who knows? You know what I mean? You never know unless you're in that situation, but I'm very thankful he never did touch me. And I said, I just want my passport, my social security card, just things like that. Well, he ended up convincing me to stay that night. And I honestly couldn't find my passport, social security card, or anything like that till after he passed away. And I'll tell you that story later. I didn't find that till like 3 months afterwards. I thought he burned it, honestly. But
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy because that night I realized that we were going to try to work it out. We were going to go to therapy, like outside of the military, and try to work this out. And I'd found out during all of that he was still actually talking to that crazy ex. He had been stringing her along for
the one that was warning you.
Yeah, 6 years he'd been stringing her along. 6 years. And that's why I said, when I said, like, I just want you to leave me alone, I'm like, I'm not going to be the next crazy ex. I'm like, if I leave, like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this for forever like she was. And, like, just insane stuff. And we went to therapy once, and then he made up excuses why we couldn't go to therapy. And I was like, okay, so this is definitely not going to be what I thought it was.
It's not going to work, right?
No.
On your side, you're thinking this ain't going to work.
No, I'm like, there's no way. And I'm trying my best. And I'm like, and it was crazy because like he had belittled me for so long. And I used to try like, well, if I clean the house more, if I cook more, if I mow the lawn, or if I clean the pool, like he used to go to drill on the weekends and I would clean the house, cook, do the laundry, and mow the lawn. And he'd still like come home and be like, oh my God, well, your closet's a fucking disaster. He's like, how can you even live like this? Not thank you for doing all this other stuff. No. It was just always something to belittle me, to put me down. And like I said, when I woke up, like that day when I found that phone, I was like, when did you start letting a man talk to you like this? And not against man, anybody. Like, when did you let anybody start talking to you like this? Like, where's your self-respect? And like I said, I was that woman that saw women like this in the past, and I always said stuff like, God, they should just leave, or why do they put up with that? I ain't
gonna put up with that shit, right?
And like I would see him and hear him do it, and like at this point now I know what he's doing, like, but I still don't know how to leave. Like I literally don't have the funds unless I go to a homeless shelter, and I'm like, it is what it is, you know. And I was really at that point.
I'm sure there's a lot of women out there in the same situation that they want to leave, or they want to get away from their significant other, and they can't.
The thing was, I never knew about all the places. Like God, it sounds horrible. I couldn't Google stuff on my phone because he had my phone hacked again. So I actually had to use a work computer to start looking up like ways I can get my documents again if I leave and I don't have them, or ways or places that are going to help me, like literally like hide if I leave, like, because I knew he wasn't going to let me leave, like, unscathed. Like, I knew it wasn't. It was going to be slander my name. At this point, I'm trying to build businesses, streams of income, and I'm like, oh, just have to get a whole new name. It's fine. Like, but like at that point, I'm like, you have to do whatever it is to like survive. Like you have to make this still, because what I was doing wasn't even living. Like I was literally in like survival mode. It's like being hunted every day, fight or flight. Like I hate it going home. I hate it sitting there. Like if my phone rang, it was, who are you talking to? What are you doing? I sold health insurance. Like I had clients that had my cell phone number. So like I couldn't touch my phone after like
Like a client will call you and he'd pick up your phone. Who's this?
well, no. He would just look at me. And when I hung up, it was, so who are you talking to? Oh yeah, a client. Never, no, he would never yell at me. It was just really condescending, nasty stuff. Like, yeah, you're talking to clients. Yeah, sure. It's like you go for coffee with your clients all day. He's like, must be nice just to be out gallant. And I'm like, where do you think my money's coming from? Like, what do you mean? Like, you can see the deposits, the paychecks. Like, what?
So, what ends up happening? What's the date that really things start changing?
Well, January. It was January, probably, I want to say 16th, which was like a Tuesday. He had really been just acting odd. And something told me to. So back in June, he had finally added me to his bank account. Never had been on the bank account whatsoever. I had my own money. He had his money, whatever. He added me to the bank account.
Drink and stuff like that. Drugs.
Drinking. I'll get to the rest of that. So he drank. We both drank, but I didn't think it was an issue. I drank more than I wanted to. I'm not going to lie. Like towards the end, like I drank like nightly, but like 3 beers, but like, I'm not a big woman, but like I needed like 2 or 3 drinks when I went home to just chill and go to sleep. Like truly, I just had, you don't have to do anything, but that was like my solitude. Like, yep. And,
yeah, it was mine too for 25 years.
Mine was a good, like 5 years. And like, it's crazy. In that November, we used to go out like every other weekend. We did like a date night, and I started like getting like blackout drunk, and it was crazy. And I was like, first it was like wine, so I cut out the wine. Then I cut out liquor. Then I cut out cider. Then I cut out beer. But it wouldn't happen all the time, and I'll tell you more about that story. And I was like, I can't drink. I said, alcoholism runs in our family. I said, I'm getting like blackout drunk off of like 3 beers. I said, I don't know. Maybe it's just my metabolism. I said, I don't get it. I said, I don't understand. He's like, you're not going to drink no more. I said, no. I said, I don't like who the fuck I am. I said, if this is who I am when I drink, I said, I don't like it. I don't need it. I'm like, my recovery time was like 16 hours. Like, it was just crazy. Like, I was blackout drunk. I mean, and we were like shooting darts at local bars. It's not like we were going clubbing, going hard, nothing like that. Yeah, so in November, I quit drinking altogether.
I had a problem drinking, but that's long behind me, and I'm so happy that I'm broke free of that.
Oh yeah.
But so you say it's around January, right?
Yeah, it was January 16th. My business really took off. I was doing well. And like I finally told him, like, hey, I'm doing well.
Are you guys living together?
Oh yeah, living together, and like I'm still trying to make things work. Oh yeah, still trying to make things work. I'm trying to be a good wife. He's getting ready to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner. And I said, look, I said, you held me down while I did my health insurance. I said, let me try to hold you down. Like, let me help you while you're going back to school. And he's like, what? He's like, you can afford it on your own. I said, yeah. I said, I can afford all the bills except your truck and your credit card. I said, like, when he held me down when I was first starting with health insurance, he said, if you pay your car payment, your credit cards, I got the rest. I said, okay. I said, you do that for me. I'll help you out when you go back to school. That was like 3 years earlier. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you can afford everything on your own. I was like, yeah. I said, I did really well this year. I said, my clientele is building. I said, my business is booming. I said, it's great. Well, of course he didn't like that, because if I could afford a whole house on my own, that meant I could probably afford to leave.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it like that. Like, I was really trying to be a nice person, saying like, let me help you out. I'm like, if I help him, it'll be great. Yeah. But he starts just acting funny. And something told me to look in the bank account. It was like January 16th of 2019. And it was his bank account. Never went in. And I had access to this since June. And something said, go in this bank account. I'm like, oh, all right. So I see that he had been going out and doing all this stuff in September, October, and then it stopped in November and December.
What kind of stuff?
I'm going to bars after work. like every day.
Yeah.
But and I'm not that person, but he didn't tell me. Like normally, if I was doing something, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to stop out with the girls after work. We're going to get drinks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he didn't tell me. Now it wasn't like 1, 2 times. It was like 20, 30 times on there. And I'm like, there's no way. And then I went back in the bank account from previous times, and there was a lot more on there than I wanted to know about. And I really hurt my own feelings. And I'm like, oh, great. Awesome. So I gather all my information again. It was Friday night. He calls me and I said, hey, I got some questions for you. And he's like, what kind of questions? I said, did you ever go, out with people after work? He's like, nah, I don't like them. I said, you guys are nurses. What do you mean? I said, you guys never went out after work? You all get out at the same time because they worked in a surgical center. And he was like, nah, I don't go out. I said, so you never went to X, Y, and Z? He's like, who the fuck have you been talking to? Said, it's a little birdie. I said, don't fucking worry about it. I said, why did you just lie to my face 4 times? I said, we just had this conversation in June and we were working on things. I said, and you were doing this stuff in September and October. I said, granted, you stopped in November or December. Why'd you quit? We're broke. I said, I'm looking at the bank account. I'm like, his definition of broke and my definition of broke, big differences. My broke's an over withdrawn account and he had a decent amount of money in his. I'm like, we're broke. I'm like, shit. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
So I went home and didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it, of course. And I said, it is what it is. I'm like, whatever. We'll just have to figure this out. And fast forward to Saturday morning, I ended up sleeping in. I don't know how, but I missed some of my appointments and stuff like that. And all I could think was I needed to figure out how to leave them. And I needed to figure out how to leave them with my, it sounds horrible. It's going to sound so petty, but with my cell phone number, all my clients and stuff like that were on my cell phone and he had control of my cell phone number. So I left the house, said I needed cigarettes. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go get cigarettes. I went to the cell phone place and they're like, oh no, you can't get your number taken off of here unless you get co-signer from the main person on there. And I'm like, well, that's that's going to be a cold day in hell.
Yeah.
So I went back to the house and I was like, hey, and I'm like, well, where's it going to tell me now? I said, I figured a way to get you some money so you can go out with your buddies after work. And he was like, what? I said, well, you said you stopped going out because you were broke. I said, I'm going to start paying for my own cell phone. And that'll give you an extra $100, a month or $200, whatever. I said, just call T-Mobile and give them my number. And he's like, you're going to leave me. And I said, leave you? I said, I just want my cell phone number. He wasn't dumb. But he started getting mad at that point. And we used to smoke our cigarettes in the bathroom because of the vent. That's the only place I smoked in my house. And I looked down at him. I said, I just want my cell phone number. Work with me. I just want my cell. That's my livelihood. And I've seen one other person that had eyes like that. And it was somebody that I took care of in the hospital. His eyes looked like black as coal. He looked soulless. And this is the man I slept next to every night, loved to death. But it wasn't my husband. And he just didn't look like him. And something in my head told me that I had to leave that night. Now, you've heard about other fights we've had, other arguments. And there was never really ever a time we fought like this because we never talked about nothing. Like I said, that was a regular. We were never allowed to talk about anything. And all I could hear in my head is you have to get the hell out of here. You have to get the hell out of here. And he's talking at me and he's like, you're going to divorce me. You're going to leave me. That's not. I said, it's a Saturday night. You act like I can do this overnight. And he was like, well, you're gonna. And I said, you're acting real immature right now. I said, I'm going to go to a friend's. And he knows I don't have any friends because he didn't let me have friends. But I had one friend that I knew would have my back if I left. And she did. I finally got out of the house, backed out of the house by the skin of my teeth, I swear. Because when I was getting out of the bathroom, I knew there was a gun in our nightstand drawer, the one gun that we had. And all I could think was I have to back out of this bathroom to the front door because there's a gun in there. And I got outside. He followed me out. He wasn't going to let go of my car door, but thank God there was 1 or 2 neighbors outside. And he did. And I swear I walked out with 3 dresses over my arms, 2 pairs of shoes and makeup all in my arms because I was like, I'm going to go to my friends. I said, we'll talk more Monday. I said, you need to cool down. I said, you're just being immature. I said, we're not 15. We're in our 30s. You're being
Was
crazy.
he drinking at that point?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he's drinking and he's like you're going to leave me. He's all
yeah. And
and shit, right?
He was just being weird. You're going to leave. And I'm like, he's like, well, you have all these networking friends and lawyer friends. You're going to leave. And I'm like, it's a Saturday night at 6 p.m. I said, you're being crazy. I'm like, let me go to my friends, And I left. That was 6 p.m. on Saturday. I ended up staying with my good friend. We hid my car. We ended up transferring my phone number over because as I'm driving away, he's threatening to report my car stolen, to cancel my cell phone, just do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, girl, I need help with all this. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it wasn't a planned leave. Like, I'm like, but I need my car. I need my phone. Like, so we got my phone switched over in the car. The next morning, she's like, oh, hey, I'm going to church. You want to go to church? I said, yeah, sure. I said, I haven't been to church since I don't know when. Like, I hadn't been to church in a long, long time. And
Yeah.
I went to church with her. Great service, real gut wrenching, and just what I needed to hear. That I swear that preacher speaks to my soul. Anybody that watches this in the San Antonio area, it's the CBC. But so me and her hung out all day, and she's like, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I have no idea." I said, "I have to go to the house and get my stuff." I said, "I'm gonna have to talk to him," and she's like, "No, you're gonna need a police escort." She's like, "Or me and my husband will go," and like he was acting crazy. She's like, "I don't think even just us should go." She's like, "Maybe get a police escort to get some of your shit out." I'm like, "This is a mess," I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So about 6 p.m. rolls around, and her husband was on a business trip, and he comes back. We pick him up from the airport, and they're going to one of their kids' house for dinner. They're like, you want to come? I'm like, sure, because my car is still hid at their one daughter's house. I'm like, sure, I'm not doing anything anyway. Might as well. I get a call from his brother, and his brother is frantic, and I'm like, what the fuck? And like his brother and me had always gotten along. His brother was sort of like the black sheep of the family. It was always in trouble, but me and him always got along.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Jill, Kyle's dead. And I'm like, what? Fuck you. What do you mean? What? I'm like, you're crazy. Like, I don't like that's not even something to me that's fathomable. I'm like, no way. This dude was so about himself. I'm like, what? Well, he's like, we called a well check and this and that, and he's just like rambling at me. And as he's saying that, my phone's ringing. It's the sheriff. And I'm like, you have got to be shitting me. And Melinda and Randy and my two friends are in the front seat, and they're like, what the fuck? I answer, and they're like, ma'am, you got to come to your house. We just pulled. Are you married to the homeowner? Because he was technically the homeowner. It's like, yeah. Like we pulled a bald white male gunshot victim out of your home, self-inflicted gunshot victim. I was like, ha. I'm like, no fucking way. I'm like, no fucking way. This is like 12 hours after I left. Like I have not even left that house 12 hours later. And when I figured it out, like the security system and stuff like that, because it picks up like if glass breaks and stuff like that, the last time it moved or it picked anything up was while I was in church. And I will vow to this day that God put you in the right places at the right time, because that was the last movement in my house was at like 11:30 in the morning on Sunday. So less than 12 hours after I left that house, he pretty much killed himself.
And he shot himself right in the
Yep.
mouth with a
He
gun.
shot himself. So I did not find him. I was blessed enough not to find him, but I'll tell you, I have a really good imagination. So when I got there, I did not have to identify him. The hearse actually drove past me as we were driving over, and the detective came out. And the craziest thing is, she's like, "There was so much love in this house. I don't know how something like this could happen." Which, like, literally,
What, from the decorations of the house and
yeah,
how it was set up?
yeah.
It's pretty crazy how it will fool somebody,
And that's why,
right?
like, if you watch my YouTube channel, I always talk about people like everything looks insta perfect in life, and you can't trust what people post or what it is, because I wanted things to be amazing. So I always tried to keep that vibe, but things were far from it. But the or the sheriff had come out, and she told me how she actually got in the house. His family called a well check. So I don't know exactly what was going on with that. And they can't go in your house unless they have reasonable cause to go in, even if it's a well check. Like if they knock and nothing happens, like they can't go in. Well, my back door had a window pane in it. And when she looked in the window pane, she saw my husband. And I won't describe what she saw, but she vividly described to me what she saw. So I might as well have seen it. I didn't see the house. I didn't see him.
Oh,
But
so you didn't go back in the house after this
my
happened?
friends would not. So my friends would not let me in that night. I had two dogs. They went in and got my dogs. Um, and my other good friend, the lady I was working for, before she actually had my house cleaned for me by a service, like professionals paid for that like 2 days later so I could go back in. I went back in the house after that, but I sold. I never lived there again. Nothing.
Did he leave you a note?
Did he left a note?
He did for you?
Oh no, it was for his family. Um, so it talked about him battling his demons. It talked about how they won. But one last dig in it was Jill's so mean and Jill's so nasty that she finally drove me to this. And that was like the next to the last paragraph. Yep. Yep. So his family still has that note and they have a personal like vendetta against me. Um, they've sent me hate mail for years. They've never talked to me after it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, people make their own decisions, you know? And
Well, and they say, like you did this, and like I said, if you saw us, I mean, it's crazy. If you saw us, like you would have thought we were like this happy, perfect couple. Like,
trust me, there's a lot of people out there who put on the persona that they're a happy couple and
well, the
everything
whole
is
thing was my
great.
sister's like, why would you even post pictures like that? Because I posted Christmas pictures. Now this happened January 20th. I posted Christmas pictures, New Year's Eve pictures. I said, Chelsea, because when I don't post, it was like, look, you don't even fucking love me. You won't even post me on your social media. You won't even this, you won't even that. And I'm like, okay. And I posted pictures and yeah.
Everything seems great, but it's not, right?
Yeah. And like nobody had a clue what it was doing because I lost touch with a lot of my friends and people were like, well, why didn't you say anything to anybody? I said, and it's like a shame, it's a taboo thing. A lot of things like that is because, we looked perfect and like people would say, how are you? Because they knew how perfect he was, you know. And like truly it was one of those ones where people are just like, you know, they they just didn't know and I didn't want to tell them because I picked him and I stayed and I didn't want their judgment because so many people would say Jill and I told my one friend and she when stuff was going on she's like well just leave and she was raised the same exact way I was, and she was
A
like
lot of people are don't get divorced, stick around.
well no like my friends were the opposite. They're like just leave because we were all like I don't say women but we were independent people. We came up out the fucking mud. So when I told her, girl, I don't know how to leave, she's like, what the fuck don't you know how to leave? She's like, Jill, just leave. And like
So after all this happened, did you fall into depression? Were you depressed and things like that? Or
I
how?
actually really got more numb. And numb, if anybody's ever been numb, is not a good spot. I made a vow to myself. I wasn't gonna just survive through this. I was gonna thrive through this. And so for the first 3 months, I swear it was just survival mode. Like I had to put on services. I had to sort of clean up the house. I sort of had to figure out where I was going to live because I
You have
wasn't.
to like take responsibility for things and be a grown up. Like this is my job. I got to take care of
And
this.
people are like, I had to go back to work like a month later, and not even people are like, how are you going back to work? I said, because I have to pay a mortgage. I said, I have to pay for an apartment now because I won't go back to that house. I said, I have to pay my car payment. I said, nobody gives a fuck. He died. I said, I'm not even trying to be mean. I said, the bills are due the first of every month. I said, and he left me $90,000 worth of fucking debt. I'm like, what do you mean?
That's
And people thought I was
crazy.
crazy because I was going back to work. I said, I don't have family. I can't go to mom and say, hey, can you pay for my bills? I said, hey, can you pay for this? Like that wasn't an option. So I had to like cry at night, shut that shit off, and be a big girl. Like, because nobody could help me clean that house out. My sister lived in Florida. My friends had a life. I had to go back to that house every day until I got that cleaned out for like 6 months because it took me 6 months to clean it out because it was hard. I could
Yeah.
only do like 2 or 3 hours myself before it was just too much. It was just a lot. Because like when I married him, like I didn't want to believe I was marrying. I didn't marry a monster. Like there was good things. It wasn't all bad things. Like and like when I realized my whole life was just like a bad fucking movie scene, like it hits you like a ton of bricks, and you're just like, how? How did this happen? I don't even like Lifetime movies, and my life was worse than a Lifetime movie. Like I found out after he died, he had a whole illegitimate child with that girl that warned me about him being crazy.
So you had a baby you
Yeah,
didn't know about.
yeah. She's like what? She'd be like 8 now. So she was 4 years old
Wow.
when he died. So we were definitely fully engaged when he knocked her up.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild.
and like
So
people are
tell
like,
the people about your YouTube channel and how you started to talk on your YouTube channel and Tell people about your show, and you can go in the description of this video and subscribe to her channel. Tell the people
Yes,
about your
please
show.
do. So what this is you guys got like a very small description of my very crazy life in 1 hour nutshell. And there's so much more to it. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as long as I'm not traveling around the road, I'm going on and talking about this kind of stuff because people don't know. I don't care if you're a guy, a girl, something like that. And like I said, nobody ever plans to be in these situations. And even if you have a friend that's in one of these situations, whether it's suicide and they don't know what to do because God, that's a low spot when somebody does kill themselves. And
And
then
listen, I've been
abuse.
suicidal. Like I've been there. I wanted to kill myself on
I was
multiple
there.
occasions.
My
You
God, I
know.
was there like literally so so many times. And I'd say like when I was a teenager and stuff. And like when I said I prayed to the universe, I had one attempt when I was back when I was 26 years old before I'd met him, stuff like that. And I survived. I spent 3 days in a psych ward and I swallowed pills, but like it trust me, real it was a close one, but
Yeah, if
you know,
anyone's struggling with suicide, depression, or anything, they have a new number. It's pound nine
like
eight
eight,
eight
eight. And like the
or
thing is,
1-800-273-8155.
and
You
like
know.
I and like mine was like a lot was going on and I get it. But like I said, I'd never do it again. I said, if if I'm gonna ever be taken out now, it's gonna be by God's choice. Like I've made it through all this for a reason. Like, and what is it? Who knows? I don't know if it's just to share the story and help other people that don't know where to go, don't know what to do. But
But
all
look,
I know is,
look, you made it through the other side. Like
yeah. And
all
like
this
giving
stuff
up
happened to you because
is
other
not an
people are
option.
gonna deal with the same situation that you dealt with.
And that's the whole thing. And that like when I hear about suicide, because I've been there, so I can speak on that too. Like giving up is not an option. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's drugs. I don't care if it's a bad relationship. I don't care. Reach out to somebody, Google it. Like there's somebody that's going to help you make it through that other side. Even if you don't have family, like God provided, like when my life fell apart, like people showed up to help me through this stuff. Did I do a lot of it alone? Yes. But like even talking to you now, like I met you through friends. Like
Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Rob Stover.
Rob is, amazing, great friend. I met through other ventures and stuff, but like, and when you're in that storm though, you can't even fathom it. You can't imagine how you're going to survive that storm. And I get it. And that's why I have to talk about it because like my story's so unique. Like I Googled stuff and there's not books about what I went through. There's not YouTubes till now about this kind of stuff. Everybody always says my husband was depressed or my wife was depressed and like she showed signs and I wish she got help. I had no idea. Like he ran the suicide prevention course in the military. Like he was very strong headed, very independent. Like
Like
I
he
didn't,
never thought he would do this type of
no,
thing, right? That
never.
was like not an option.
No. And like when they even said that to me, I was like, no. And they were like, what? Like they thought I was in denial, but that was my first response. I'm like, no fucking way. Like I never had a clue. So like when you don't have a clue, sometimes it leaves you with more questions. So
Yeah.
I'm talking about this kind of stuff for that reason, because whether he was mean to me or not, I still loved him at some point. So I had to like grieve the relationship, grieve him, grieve a lot of stuff. So on there right now, it's more about my story and different things like that. And just to share to people that might need it. Cause if you've never been through it, you don't know how to talk to people. And like people used to try to give me advice and sometimes it would shut you down more because they're like, just leave. Shit, if I could just leave,
That easy, yeah.
I would.
Listen,
Trust me.
sometimes people are depressed and they're like, just get over it. That's not fucking helping somebody, man.
They're like, "Oh, you're
Just get over
anxious,
it.
dude." And I'm like, they're like, "Just breathe." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
Just don't
That's like,
be.
yeah,
Just don't be.
yeah.
It's all
They're like,
right.
just take a deep breath. I'm like, don't. Do you think I not tried that? Like, not. I'm
So
not laughing at people, but it's one of those ones where I want to help people get through stuff. Like I started to invest after that. I do crypto investing, e-commerce stuff, digital entrepreneurship. I do so much that I never even. I knew nothing about it. I got into that all after he died. Like I swear, I used my anger, aggression, and depression to invest into myself, and I came out with some really cool skill sets because I said I wasn't going to drink or drug my way through this because I said I was going to thrive through this. And I haven't. Did I drink still here and there? Yeah, I'm not even going to lie, but I've gotten healthier. I go to the gym. I really love to mentor other people. I love to help people learn something. I like to see people come out of the mud. And you don't have to have a tragic story to come out of the mud. Trust me, I always tell people don't compare to my story or your story or somebody's story. Your story is your story and be proud of it. Rock it. For so long, though, I didn't even tell people. Like, if you look at my social media and you go back like a year and a half, Nobody knew I was a widow. I hid that shit because that was like taboo. People were like, oh, you're a widow. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I didn't want that. I wanted to talk to my story to help people, but they used to like look down on me because I was a widow, especially when they found out he killed himself on top of it. Like nobody knew how to talk to me. And so I would just hide it because I just didn't want those looks, didn't want this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I got to talk about it. I'm like, it's not something to be hid. And so many people are ashamed of what they've been through or what they're going through.
And that's one of the reasons I bring you on the show, is because I know that you telling this story can help a lot of women out there who are stuck in this situation. Maybe they're stuck in a relationship they don't want to be in. Maybe their husband just committed suicide. Maybe their wife just...
And they might not know how to feel about it because like and I call it tripolar. When that happens, when somebody commits suicide, and like a lot of times there's other issues behind it, because even if they were depressed, the relationship probably wasn't perfect. Like one day, sometimes you're happy almost it's over because he wasn't that nice to me. Other days you're so sad you lost your person. And then like other days you're just mad. Like how could they do that and leave?
Yeah.
Like
So
quitting
it
isn't an option.
goes up and down, right?
And I mean, it hits like waves. The worst part was like when I used to be numb, I used to be like, oh boy, I'd be like, that's going to hit me like a ton of bricks later, because I'm like, I don't feel nothing right now. I'm like, oh. And sometimes I was just on such autopilot. Like people are like, are you okay? And my first thing would be like, yeah. They're like, your husband just died a week ago. But it was such just like a...
Move on. Hey, one day we're all going to die. And guess what's going to happen?
But it was just like an automatic response though. Like when people would say, are you okay? I'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, well, no, I'm not. I'm like, but I'm here. I ate. I put my clothes on. I have makeup on. I'm like, I'm at work. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm like, it sounds horrible. Nobody. And it's not that nobody cares. Like your bills don't care. And like the thing was, like I used to literally take my makeup into work with me, because I would say, okay, you can cry to work, but you have to shut it off because like you have to. And so I'd be in the car, put my makeup on, and then I take it off for the drive home so it wasn't in my eyes.
Honestly, just like an actor, if they don't feel good, they have to do the role. They have to be on point, perfect. So that's like the kind of standard that I hold myself to when I'm working and doing podcasts, even if I don't feel good. If I have some other things I have to do, I make it a priority because you have to get it done.
Yeah.
You know?
And that was like, that's been my whole life. And like some people are like, how had you do it? I said, it's not an option. Like I am going to thrive through this. This is not an option. Like we made it through all of this for some reason. And the reason is to help other people. So like not doing life yet. No, it's not an option. Like you said, like today I traveled all day yesterday. Like it was a good weekend, but like, I was like, oh, and you messaged me. I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm ready.
Yeah.
I still was not ready this morning when you said, are you ready for your thing today? I was like,
yeah.
No, but I will be.
You did great. I think you did great. You explained it perfectly, and I'll definitely have you on again. And I'm gonna have a show when I have a whole bunch of my past guests on. I'll have you, Rob. I'll have a whole bunch of people on at once.
I'd love to.
Well, chop it up. I gotta go cook dinner, and I've been so damn busy today. I've been working my ass off.
I had like a small snack to come on, and then like same thing, dinner. But thank you for having me on, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Bill, he brings on such amazing people. Their stories are all different, all unique. Follow them, like them, like you won't regret it. Thank you so much for having me on, though. And if anybody needs it, follow my YouTube, message me, Facebook, Jill Rupp.
I put your LinkedIn is in the description of this video. I put your LinkedIn in there, your YouTube. I put everything in there.
Guys, just hit me up, and like what you see here is what you get. Okay, I may curse a little bit more. I'm more of an East Coast girl than anything, but for the most part, what you see is what you get. I am here to help. If I don't get right back to you, I will. I promise I will. So you need anything, hit me up and we'll figure it out together. And that's all there is to it.
And if you're struggling with depression and you feel like you want to hurt yourself or anything like that, call #988 or 1-800-273-8155. And I appreciate everyone who watches my show. You know, I got a lot more content this week. It's going to be a good week. So hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. Till next time, man. Thank you, Joe.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.